Well, the Premier League never disappoints, does it? We've got a red card to talk about. We've got 8-0 to talk about. We've also got a 0-0 to talk about, and plenty more in there as well. Just before we get started, I'm going to get this out of the way. Newcastle scored more today than Chelsea have in all competitions this season. Welcome back to West Ham Official. Hope you are all well. The normal crew are joining me. Firstly, Josh, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Sean, you didn't lose at the Emirates.
Well, of course, I knew we wouldn't lose at the Emirates.
What's this on Twitter all week? Narrow loss, 2-1, 3-2.
Well, I knew it would be tight, and I knew we wouldn't get torn apart like some idiot pundits tried. I don't know where them views are coming from, but yeah, I knew it'd be a tight game.
There we go. Right, let's get the most forgettable game of the weekend out of the way nice and early. Josh, you drew the short straw as we head to Selhurst Park for Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 0. Good luck, Josh.
I totally forgot this game was played. I did watch the highlights for it, and Sam Johnston played a blinder, looked like Fulham, by far the best side. Roy Hod obviously come back of playing us last week, not like defeat for them. Roy Hodgson back in the technical area, which is good to see. Probably the most exciting thing what happened about that game. No, Fulham definitely had the better chances. Sam Johnston got forced into some really good saves. Willian was at the heart of most things. Raul Jimenez had a few chances. You can just tell he's a striker who hasn't got a lot of confidence at the moment. There's a few chances that he missed, or when he could have shot and he decided to pass. They had a couple of 2-on-3s as well for them, which they managed to mess up. So I think they were definitely unlucky not to win. Palace had a few breakaways at the end of Eze, by far their most creative player, but they couldn't make that count either. So yeah, absolutely the most forgettable game of the weekend, and I think definitely two sides who will be around 11th or 12th, that sort of area this season.
Yeah, two sides that we will forget about through the majority of this season when talking about proper clubs like ourselves. And but no, it's two teams that are going to be around that area, Josh, and we won't dwell on it too much because they aren't going to go down and they aren't going to get into Europe. Let's move up to the Etihad, where inside 14 minutes I thought we may have been getting near what the last game of the weekend had to offer, but a red card in there, bizarrely. And Man City win 2-0 as it was after 12 minutes. Sean, a strange one.
Yeah, and Forest played well, didn't they? I believe. I did read a few times they were doing well, and the Rodri he grabbed around the throat, didn't he? It was ridiculous. Stupid. Yeah. You were going to still get it, but you can't get away with stuff with the amount of cameras on the pitch nowadays like that. And obviously it's a 3-game ban, I think, as well. Yeah. So he misses the Arsenal game. I know he's made a fuss.
Misses the title decider.
If that'll make any difference. But you say title decider, I think Arsenal are now 4 points behind City. So is that it's not next week, is it? The week after, is it? Or something?
It's 3 games time, so it'll be in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so say City beat Arsenal in that one, is that Arsenal at the title race? Is it after about 8 games? Yeah, all right, okay. Just City get the job done, don't they? And then there's been did Haaland score or not?
Yeah, scored one. Yeah.
But there's been a bit of a talk about him sort of being off form, hasn't there, a little bit in the last week or two, because he's missed a lot of sitters. I don't want to go back to your game last week when you said you had chances, they had chances. He missed some sitters. I shared it on Twitter.
He missed 2 sitters, yeah.
But then I think he missed 2 or 3 in Europe as well. So there's like a video sort of combination going around, like just his missed passes, the sitters he's missed, 3 headers he put on the roof of the net. So it just shows if you're in City side, he's probably going to create Haaland 5-6 chances every single game, and that's. But I think this stage of last season, myself and a few others were saying City don't look as good with Haaland in the side because of how they play, and they ended up having the best ever season. So they'll probably do similar again. They not 4 points clear of everyone, are they? Is it Liverpool in second now? I haven't seen the table this afternoon.
So, yeah.
But they're going to keep nudging the gap away. Do you know what I mean? And
2-point gap between them and Liverpool.
Yeah, I think in quite a few seasons they've sort of come up behind, haven't they? They've had a slower start. But if they do manage to get a little gap, that'll obviously help their Champions League cause this year, I think. Because they have got a few injuries, haven't they? It's not just Rodri missing. It's, he was moaning about the injuries the other day, a few out for a while. But it's just a trademark City win, really, Nick. Do you know what I mean? When they play a home game against, well, everyone really, but anyone below like third in the league, it's just going to be a trademark win. I know they drop points every now and again, rarely at home, but you don't even need to take much notice of it, really. You just take it as a given that they're going to get the points. That's what
they
done.
win. They win most of them, that is for sure. Let's head over to Kenilworth Road, where Luton registered their first Premier League point ever. And yeah, there was plenty that went on in this game as well. Josh, over to you.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to get it, but well, they probably will at some point, but they're not going to get many better chances to get a win in the Premier League. They played against 10 men for the majority of the second half at 0-0, and then they let one in on the Bulls counter, and they only managed to get the one back with a penalty. They weren't on top for most of the second half, which you'd expect them to be with man advantage, but I just think in games like that at home to sides you know we're going to be down there with you this season, when you've got the man advantage, I think they're the games you've got to try and get 3 points out of. I think it's the first point. That's not too bad, but you're not going to get many better chances to win than that, which is the thing for Luton, really. There was a red card in this game. I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but it did look a red card because he kicked out. He made a foul and stupidly kicked out. It's a silly one to get, really. And then from then, it was all one-way traffic with Luton, but I think it was Pedro Neto on just a quick counter-attack. There was like a 2-on-5, but he just burst past him over his pace and scored. I think he'll be a difficult one to keep hold of. Probably next 12 to 18 months, he'll be off to one of the bigger clubs. The penalty, it was a well-taken penalty by Morris. Centre keeping on way bottom corner, but they should have won, really. Luton, they had a lot of chances, and if they just need a bit more composure and a bit more clinical in the final third, and they'd have won. But you can say that about a lot of bottom half teams. So I don't see much hope for them this season. I think the home form, if they're going to stay up, that's what's going to do it. But I really just don't see a way that they're going to manage to stay up. It's just
I think I'm inclined to agree. The fact is that they aren't going to get many better opportunities to pick up 3 points with Wolves being down to 10 men and being at home. Listen, they've got to win their home matches if they're going to be anywhere near Premier League survival, and they've lost this one, which, to be fair, if you'd asked Luton fans before, would you take a point to get off and running? Most of them probably would have said yes, but really they need to start putting the foot down quite quick here, because yes, there'll be the initial relief that they've got a point on the board now, but yeah, they need to get going, that is for sure. Let's see who we have got in the chat before we crack on. Sharky, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Josh looks above 6 foot tall. Up there, very good. Yeah, it was a big opportunity, but they couldn't get it, and I think that may come back to bite them. Saturday Night Football is up next, the Brentford, whatever it's called now, Community Stadium, where Everton, to my eternal shock, beat them. Dominic Calvert-Lewin got on the score sheet, 3-1 win. I did not expect that, Sean.
No, I didn't, to be honest. Brilliant win. Obviously, you can see what it meant to the fans in the corner there.
Yeah.
What's your fair bit of Brentford over the last couple of years since they've been up? It's one of the worst I've seen them, I'll be honest. And you don't usually say it for Frank's team. I thought they looked quite leggy. Like, Everton aren't known to being a side that pass it around nice over the back. And they were passing out quite easily, I thought, getting the ball through the midfield to the forwards. I haven't seen Everton do that for a few years. And it looked quite easy for Brentford, for Everton to get through Brentford. One thing I do notice in a Brentford play as well is how quiet the fans are in that little new stadium. They're not really, well, probably a little bit like I was going to say pretend rivals Fulham. They're not a noisy bunch of fans in that part of London, put it that way, I don't think. Whether they just went real quiet for that game, but even at 1-0 down, I thought this comes across very quiet on the TV. But got to give credit for Everton. He said no one would have seen this result coming, probably. But yeah, disappointing for Brentford. And I think they're probably missing Raya in goal. Yeah. The new keeper, I don't think he's not commanding. So whether he'll come good or not, I don't like to write off new players this quick. But if you lose your best striker, and I think they've said he might probably be sold in January, Tony, as well. because I think his contract's fizzling out a little bit. You lose your keeper. Most people rate quite highly. I think Rico Henry's out for the season at left back. I don't know. You take 2 or 3 of your top players that have probably quite a small, inexperienced squad.
To be fair, when you put it like that, and if you go against most Premier League sides, say you take away your keeper, take away your striker, you take away your left back, probably the 3 best players, then most teams would be, backed into a corner.
Yeah,
so to be fair,
I think they're going to be like a lot of clubs around that level. You get when you got a star player, they get plucked away, don't they? And then you've got to replace them with someone on paper looks a little bit lesser. And I know Brentford have had a brilliant track record of finding gems. They're like Brighton, I suppose. They're not too dissimilar to the same sort of things they do. They got their way of scouting around the world. They'll bring in a few unknowns. But my answer to scouting like that, like the way of running it, where you sell your best players for big money, replace it with cheaper. Spitlow and Southampton were doing. Remember when they were selling Mane, when they were selling Van Dijk? At some point, I'm always a believer that system sort of dries up. Like all it takes is one summer to get 3 transfers that don't click. Do you know what I mean? And I think I can see it happen at Brighton and Brentford. But yeah, I'm certainly not writing Brentford off, but I don't think they had a very good game. They did look leggy, and that's unusual for like 5-6 games in. Maybe for a few of them, it's a few couple of hard seasons, maybe catching up on a couple. I don't know, but I think Brentford, from what I've seen so far, we might see a slight dip off from what they've done the last 2 seasons. I know I said this last year. I said last year we might see a dip off, and fair play, I got that wrong. But it would not surprise me if you see them a lot closer to right in the middle of the table.
Yeah, I agree. I think,
which is very good. Let's be honest, that's very good. It's not bad.
For them, it's it's good. Sharky says Luton and Sheffield United are on the way down. Everton are surprised they won. It's an impressive win. Being so, it certainly was. The one time you win, your granddad's nowhere to be seen, Josh. I mean, what is going on?
I've just messaged him. I'm not sure. He said he'd be in there, so I'm not sure, to be honest.
He's missed out on the glory now because we're going to move up to Turf Moor, where, well, this was a crap game of football, I must admit. I dipped in and out of it. Burnley 0, Manchester United 1. One moment of brilliance from Bruno Fernandes probably covers over what was a really crap performance from Manchester United, Josh.
Yeah, I thought Burnley probably had the best chances in the game. They come out fighting. They had the better chances to start. First 20 minutes they were playing well. Forced 3 good saves out of Onana. Should have scored, really. Just like most of the bottom half teams, not clinical enough. And then as for the offside goal, Hoyland was blocking the keeper's view, and by the letter of the law, that is obstruction. Or I said to call it offside, but it is disallowed goal. That's fair enough. And then a world-class ball, to be fair, by Johnny Evans over the top of Fernandes, and just a really good finish on the volley. Don't really like him, but he is a good player. And then apart from that, nothing else really much happened then. United they just sort of ground out the win. They didn't really have to play well. I wouldn't give many their players a 7 out of 10 performance. And as for Burnley, they're still trying to play this good football. I think once they get to the games, they could just do what Forest did last season and just go to Route 1, sack the good football, and just try and just scrape themselves up, scrape survival, just by playing Route 1, going back to basics, because it just doesn't seem to be working for them. They got points against Forest last week, and I think they're on 1. So yeah, it's not great for Burnley, although I think they did play okay, and that's for United. I don't think we'll see them in the top 4 this season. I think they'll be about 5th or 6th. Usually whenever they get back in the Champions League, they come around 5th or 6th. So yeah, it's a good win for them, but no, I can't see them doing any good as last season.
Yeah, well, I think the newly promoted sides have made their own mini league down there at the bottom. They've all got 1 point so far. Burnley, Luton, and Sheffield United, and I think there's going to be a wake up call soon with Burnley. I think it won't be long before they realise they can't play this style of football if they want to stay in the league, because they will get played off the park by a lot of teams in this league. And I think they'll probably do what Forest did last year. I think we discussed it last week. I think they'll probably scale back to a more routine relegation fuller side way of playing and try and grind out the results, because at the moment, yes, they play some decent sides, but they aren't scoring many goals, and they were scoring goals for fun last year in the Championship, and they aren't scoring many goals. Let's take some comments. Josh's granddad's here now. Nobody fear, don't worry. Well, you've missed the Everton praise now. You've missed the Everton praise. Corey's not happy, man. You're not. You need to stop wasting time and sack Ten Hag and get Zidane in ASAP. It's not looking good. Up at Old Trafford, the place is falling down and they are not playing well. Let's move across to Anfield then. Right, we're into Sunday already. 5 games on Saturday, 5 games on Sunday this week. We don't usually get that. It's usually a Friday or a Monday chucked in there. But Liverpool 3, West Ham United. Well, I'm going to have to talk now, aren't I? Look, if anybody was wholeheartedly expecting to go up there today and beat them, then they have silly amount of confidence. We were never going to go there and beat them. There was a slight maybe, but look, we were never going to go there and beat them. I thought a point was possible, and it was for a big part of that game. I thought we were well in the game at 1-0, and then we pulled it back to 1-1, and 2-1 was. 2-1 was, of course, always going to be difficult to come back from. 3-1 killed the game off, and look, if you don't take your chances at Anfield, you just aren't going to pick something up. We had 2 or 3 golden chances that you just can't afford to miss. 2 inside the first 9 minutes. Soucek with a free header inside the box. It's a great save from Alisson. Antonio with a wayward header, which was also a free header from inside the box. Bowen missed a free header in the second half from a set piece that James Ward-Prowse whipped in. If you score one of them, the game changes. The complexion of the game changes. If that penalty is given, the complexion of the game changes. I think Sean, you put on Twitter about there's only one angle of it. I think because Sky didn't fully televise it, that's the only one we've got, and it was brushed over very quickly on the stream. The 2 commentators were putting a really good audition for Liverpool TV for next year, and VAR didn't look at it. They didn't mention it, and we only got one replay of it. Which, if that's at the other end, it's a penalty. There's no doubt about it. It just is, it just is. If that's Salah, that's a penalty every single day of the week. I'm not saying the one Salah had wasn't a penalty. That was a stonewall penalty. Of course it was, but there wasn't a hell of a lot of difference between the 2. And imagine my shock that one wasn't given. 2-1 was probably a fair result. 3-1, it ended. Listen, I'm not too angry about it. There's no shame in losing to Liverpool away and losing to Man City at home. We've got Sheffield United next week. We're going to lose that 1-0 after their new manager bounce comes in. So yeah. But any of you 2 like to add anything before we move on?
I think there's 2 ways of looking at it, I suppose. These last 2 games, you probably didn't expect to get any points at all before it. I think maybe your fan base probably were a little bit over pleased with how you did against City, in my opinion. I know you had chances against them. I thought another day they put you to the sword. So going into this one, I think you probably the fan base were a little bit more hopeful than you would have been before the City game. But yeah, you made a good account of yourself. I thought Liverpool finished second this year. So say the best 2 teams in the league, what I would have said at the start of the season.
I agree.
You haven't shamed yourself against either of them. You played the Moyes style, which I'm no fan of, visually it can look like you're huffing and puffing a little bit, I'll be honest. When you're happy to let a team have 65-70% of the ball, it can look like you're huffing and puffing a bit. But you've got past these 2, Sheffield United next. I'm sure you've got a run of winnable games coming now. So yeah. I didn't think you looked very good in Europe either the other night. So I don't know if that was a little...
Yeah, we weren't good.
No. So it's a little iffy patch. Like 2 games you wouldn't expect nothing from. A potential banana skin against a League One level side in Europe, where you sort of got over the line there. So it's not the greatest little spell, but you sort of get them back to your normal sort of games next week.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Let's move to Stamford Bridge then, shall we? We're all going to enjoy this one. Come on then, Josh. You were beaming with a big smile when you came on at 3 minutes to 7, and I want to see that return now as Chelsea 0, Aston Villa 1.
Yeah, well, we definitely grinded it out. It was not a pretty performance whatsoever, but Chelsea is just so wasteful when they're at the ball. It's just they had so many chances. It's like a carbon copy of how we beat them last season in April. They absolutely battered us with chances, but they just hardly even troubled Martinez. Had so many clear-cut chances, just all off target. And then obviously the red card changed everything with to be honest, we probably would have lost the game if it wasn't for the red card. And it was a red card. It was studs up. It was high. There was no question about it. It was a red card for Gusto. And then the game changed from then. And Diaby and Watkins, they were invisible until we scored. Both combined for the first goal. Questionable goalkeeping for it. It went under the legs of Sanchez. We don't care in the end. Watkins is off the mark for the season. That hopefully should give him a bit of confidence. The high defensive line still getting exposed quite a bit over the top in behind with Sterling, Mudryk, Jackson. It was just a good job. They were so wasteful and they couldn't find the back of the net. But we won in the end, so I don't really care. But Kamara, Douglas Luiz, both back to the best. Luiz has been good anyway, but Kamara hasn't been as good this season. He looked very good again. Win the ball back, his passing looked better. And John McGinn as well also looked very good. I'd say still not fully convinced of the defence. I don't have any trouble with them on the ball. Torres really composed on the ball, just a quality ball playing centre back, but just a bit slow and still adjusting to the league. Obviously coming from Spain. Ezri Konsa got a new contract last week. How he's never been in the England squad, just ridiculous. I think I say it every week, but always consistent, quick. He's good on the ball, strong. He's just by far our best centre half. Just a really good all round performance. In the end, we defended okay. We didn't really defend okay, but we kept a clean sheet. And we were clinical when we did get the chance. We didn't really have too many of them, but we were clinical, and it's a good habit to get into when you grind out results. When you're not playing great but still winning, it means you grind out results. Because the amount of times where we've absolutely battered teams under Gerrard and Smith and have come away with nothing. So I'm just glad to see that we're finally getting a bit more clinical in the final third. Like Palace as well, we also didn't play well, but we managed to win. So yeah, I think we're 6 now. So I wasn't too confident before the game after what happened in Europe. We were very, very poor, but now we've got back to winning ways today and really good team performance in the end.
No, I think it was, as you said, I think it was probably key that you had a result like this because your heads could have gone down after losing on Thursday night in Europe, and there could have been a bit of fatigue coming there as well. But no, you came and you beat an average Chelsea side. I mean, I said at the start of the show, Newcastle today scored more goals than what Chelsea have in all competitions so far this season. I feel ashamed that we conceded a goal to them now after seeing what they've done. They haven't scored a goal in September yet, and if they don't score one against Brighton on Wednesday night, they won't even have a contender for a goal of the month. It is laughable. Poch will be sacked by the end of October, and it'll all be fun and games at the Banter Club over. They do look awful. They certainly do. We're having complaints about your hair, Sean. What's going on?
Nothing wrong with growing it out, mate.
Growing it out, are you?
Golden, no. Haircut Wednesday it is.
Same. Snap. See, next week we'll both
my holiday hair.
See, we're both having our haircut on Wednesday. We'll both come back with, looking 10 years younger. Well, I won't be looking 10 years younger. You will. There'll be something wrong if I come back looking 10 years younger. Right. Let's take some more of your comments. Chris Wilder back at Sheffield United next week.
Did he? On that, did Wilder get sacked when the last season in the Premier League? Or did he leave mid-season? I can't remember.
He said it was mutual, I think.
He left, did he? Or
I don't know. I just said it was mutual, but
was it? Yeah.
I can't remember that far back. I can't remember that far back. Dad's been itching to ask you how your breakfast was the other day, Sean.
Oh, it's good breakfast. Yeah, nice down Gaudy's 08. It's the old Froome Golf Club, just on the outskirts of Froome.
What did you have?
They've got very good menu. They got just a normal breakfast, so it's 2 of everything really. But they do a 3 of everything as well. Good proper coffee machine. Nice park to run around in.
Are they like paying you to say this, or?
No, I'm just being honest. I'm not under contract to anyone.
You are under contract here.
Well, I'm not getting paid yet.
Don't worry about that. Right, question to you, Josh. Do you think you'll win the Conference League?
It'll be tough. We'd have to be favourites, but it's not going to be as easy as people think. I think you'd like to think we'd get through the groups, even after we lost the first game. But we should still get through the groups. And I've heard it's like the quarterfinals where it starts getting a little bit tricky. I think West Ham played Genk or Ghent, one of the two, from Belgium, and then
I can't remember which one it was, Ghent, one of them. We thrashed them, but
yeah, and then I think there's some decent teams. I think Frankfurt are in it, Lille from France. There's a couple of decent teams in there, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna say we can definitely do it, but it's not going to be as easy as people think. Basically,
it'll probably depend more on is how much they want to win it. That's what it comes down to.
Well, I think he'll take it seriously. He's won four Europa Leagues before, so he knows how to navigate a team through Europe. So I hope he does.
Yeah, we'll see. I think a bounce back in a couple of weeks' time in your next European game is probably essential. Fiorentina will be one of the favourites. Are they back in it again this year? Well, they lost Amrabat, didn't they, to Man United, because the TNT commentator just chucked in a little mention for West Ham last night in the Burnley Man United game because Amrabat's moved there. But yeah, they'll probably be up and around there again. I mean, we didn't really see too much of them. I wasn't really paying too much attention. I was a bit more nervous than anything. But anyway, right, let's move to the North London derby then. Arsenal 2, Spurs 2. I didn't see a great deal of this because obviously I was watching West Ham. So Sean, fill me in.
Game of the weekend, which is probably expected. Two teams that want to play football. I thought it'd be a tight game before. I think the manager said it. I've shared it everywhere. The result today wasn't massively important, even though it was a huge derby. It was more a case of showing more spirit into the derby. The manager said he'd still go about it the same tactics. I'm glad he did. Arsenal fans were saying, "Oh, if he plays expansive football, we're going to tear him to shreds." Paul Merson even said that. He went way overboard like he does. So we went there. I know you said it earlier on in one of your videos, you went toe-to-toe to Liverpool. Don't call that going toe-to-toe, letting her have the ball. Tottenham went toe-to-toe with Arsenal, played not the same style, but they want to play the same pass and move football, try and get attacking and nice to watch football. And we did that. The game itself was very, very even, I thought. I think the stats back that up. I was impressed how we played. I think we may be surprised. People haven't been paying attention to Tottenham, the casual followers of other clubs, the ones that in pre-season hadn't watched Tottenham and said that we'd be in bottom half that Kane. All those sort of people might have watched it and were a bit surprised how good we looked. We've got a lot of new signings. I think that was about 5 or 6 making their debut in the North London derby. Bear in mind, Ange's only 6 games in, and Arteta's been there 4.5 years and spent about 700 million. So it was a very even game. I think Arsenal had a few decisions go their way a little bit. The penalty, the handball. I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't a penalty. It was a penalty. Again, I always praise Ange. He says how it is, and I always agree with him. He doesn't know it's a penalty because last week or the week before it'd been no penalty. They took 3 minutes. It clearly hit his hand on the 8 yards out. They took three minutes to decide where his arm was. Is it like against? They just didn't know, did they? So, and obviously the other goal he scored was a deflected cross. So the 2 games we've dropped points in now, Aston and Brentford, we've scored an own goal and an iffy penalty in both of them to drop the points. But we showed brilliant spirit. We went 1 down at the other end just before half time. Got another brilliant, well worked goal. Maddison assist, Son goal. They went 2-1 up, and with the penalty, and I think it was 23 seconds later we were 2-2. We've got some. This is a very young team. We're very much at the start of the process. The manager keeps saying that he just wants them to show spirit and play the way he wants them to play. We got a young side. We got Brennan Johnson. He started. Udogie's been class at left back. He's 21. Van der Ven looks a top draw centre half, and the keeper looks brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of this, I put good signings, but I put a lot of this to do with mainly the manager. I think the players absolutely love him. I think he's like a father figure to them. He's got that kind approach. They say he's brilliant at team talks. I think the players are just on board with him. And I think when the players are on board with the manager and they're happy, I think you just get a couple of extra levels out of some players. But Declan Rice went off at half-time because he said he felt something at his back. That's called bottling it, mate. That's what that is. Like he did for England in the Euro final versus Italy. Walked off the pitch, fine at half-time. We didn't see him again. Basuma completely bossed the midfield.
Hang on. I don't like the geezer by any stretch, but he didn't bottle it in the Euro final.
wrong
Southgate
with
hooked him off on the 70th minute, and we got worse straight away.
He come off at half time, didn't he?
He didn't. He came off on the 70th minute in the
Why
Euro
did he come
final.
off? Why did he come off?
To put Henderson on, it was a tactical change, Southgate
Yeah,
said.
exactly. Because Rice has got a habit of not fancying it. I'm telling you now, that's one of his biggest problems.
Yeah, it's back though. Yeah, it's back.
Yeah, of course he did. Basuma was running the midfield, and all this hype. Arsenal are a good side. They're players that played well, but the likes of Odegaard, everyone's hyping up as one of the top 3 midfielders in Europe at the moment, like attacking midfielders. It wasn't until his name was mentioned on something about 20 minutes after the game. I forgot he even played. But it was a great game.
I'll tell you what, that got on my nerves because I subbed out Bowen for Odegaard for FPL this week. Bowen scored, didn't he? And Odegaard got me nothing.
It was a great game though. It was a great game. 2 sides going at it, both playing how most people want to see football being played. But more important, like I said, the result was not massively important. But the penalty was iffy. We've seen a lot of handballs going on this season where 1 week they're a pen, 1 week they're not. I've read a lot of people saying by the letter of the law that shouldn't have been a penalty today because it was a bit. Remember the one that Romero had against United earlier in the season where that was more like outside the box sort of shot. It wasn't given because it said that his arm was in a natural position. But if you look at this one today, how do you want Romero to stand? Because he's closer to the ball. I don't know. That was the reason given for that not given. But they just give it after a 3-minute look at it. Like it's almost like they felt like the shot was possibly going to be a shot on target no matter what. Yeah. I don't know if it had gone in. It's almost like they thought he stopped the goal by doing it, which is just not really following the law. So it's if we thought it was Nicky Rule last season before, it's certainly not got better now. But yeah, I would say it was a tiny disappointment with the draw, but you take a point and move on. Got Liverpool next week.
Oh, there we go. Right, next up, we'll head down to the south coast where Bournemouth did take the lead at Brighton, but Brighton came back with a Matoma masterclass, I've heard, and picked up all 3 points. As soon as we absolutely battered them down there, they've excelled. Brighton, they needed a good lesson being taught by West Ham. But anyway, Josh, Brighton 3, Bournemouth 1.
Yeah, well, when I saw that Matoma hadn't played at half time, I had him on fantasy, so I wasn't very happy. But thankfully, he came on the second half and changed the game. But no, for the first goal, it was a horrendous error by the Brighton goalkeeper, passed it straight to Solanke, and then he just put it into the empty net. But then, very good comeback by Brighton. It was another mistake for the goal, for the first goal. It was a terrible own goal. I think it was Vina, the fullback. It was just a cross into the box, and it's headed into his own net. And then Matoma obviously comes on half time, changes the game. I think it's something like 20 seconds into the second half, he scores. And then Ansu Fati from Barcelona misses an absolute sitter at the back post. And then Matoma gets another one. That's about it, really. I think Brighton up to about third or second now. So, yeah, I think they've won every game since West Ham beat them. And that's who we play next week at home. So that'll be a tough game. I'll definitely take a point there. I'm not sure if to play Matoma in my fantasy for that one or bench him. I don't like playing players against Villa. But no, another good win for Brighton. As for Bournemouth, they're showing positive signs. They had a couple of chances as well to get back into it in the second half at 3-1, which they should have scored. But I think, again, that one of them might just about have enough, but it will be tough for them. They've got a good manager, but it's going to be tough. We know Luton and Sheffield United are probably guaranteed to go down in that third spot. It could be anyone, really. Although what I will say is I think the newly promoted teams that have come up this year, I think are the weakest that have come up for a while. I don't think it's been like this where we know there's 2 that are going to be basically guaranteed to go down. But I think Bournemouth might just have enough. As for Brighton, I think they lost in Europe as well in a week. And I think as soon as the European games start coming thick and fast, I think the league form might drop off a bit as well. But no, they're doing very well at the moment. So, yeah, another good one for them.
They are. And just to add on Brighton, I mean, Southampton's had a difficult couple of weeks. He's had to have that Doku geezer last week, and he had some issues down that side with the Liverpool wingers today. But I didn't even know Matoma was playing against us until he got hooked off on a 70th minute when we played him. Southampton kept Matoma completely quiet, and he seems to just be completely running riot. Brilliant player. And Brighton continue on their merry way after disappointment, similar to Villa on Thursday night. Right, let's wrap things up. I thought the record was going to be broken. I was convinced the record was going to be broken. Southampton fans switched it on quite quickly to see whether the record was going to be broken, but it wasn't. Sheffield United 0 at Newcastle United 8. Sean, I don't even know where you start with that.
Well, we'll start by me saying I thought Newcastle might struggle today. I watched Newcastle in Europe. They got the point they wanted in Milan, stunk the place out a little bit, getting it. It was a very poor game, very poor Milan side, but good away point in the Champions League. But I did probably naively thought that Sheffield United would have just kept it tight for a little bit. I think the people who were joking that obviously they went down, they were like 3-4-0 down in no time today, so we didn't see any of that time wasting they were doing last week. There was no fake cramps this week. They just got on with it, but I think the manager will probably go this week. We covered it a little bit a minute ago. I don't know. These teams are really poor. It's an early panic, and they think he's not going to keep us up, so they'll make an early panic. Some clubs like that will even have 3 different managers in the season, but if they go early, there's every chance they might. I don't know. We're just covering old ground with the teams down there, aren't we? Really? I know Everton we labelled Everton amongst the same sort of the other two last week, but Sheffield, well, they're minus 11 goals or less. What was it? Actually, it must be more than that. They got 8 today. Minus 4.
Standings. They are on. It doesn't say on here. Hang on, I will find out.
Yeah. So if the fans didn't need a reality check, 8-0 at home today.
There's still some people there at the end.
They'll be missing the championship. I messaged my Leeds mate. I banged on about last year. I said, you went down the wrong season. I said, because this year, I know I said last week, like 6 or 7 were poor last year in the league. You got 2, 3, 4 that are shocking this year, like real bad. I don't know, mate. I don't know what else to say about it, to be honest. It's fun at that. But yeah, fair play to Newcastle. I didn't think they win easily. But Sheffield United haven't been hammered that much. I just thought they might make it tight, might make it hard work after Europe. But no, just completely useless. I think there was a dodgy handball in that game as well. Was it?
Yeah, at the start, Gordon.
Yeah,
the Gordon.
The handball. I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know what they can do with the handball law unless they make it black and white. Do you know what I mean? All these different variations. If your arms up, down, natural. Because what I think is a natural arm position, you might not. Do you know what I mean? So how can you make a law concrete if one person's view could be different than the next?
It's completely down to perception. It's completely down to your opinion.
That's not following laws, though, is it?
No.
That's like a copper nicking you in the street for something, and because you're carrying a blooming gun along, and is he carrying a gun? No, it might be a twig. Do you know what I mean? It's like the perception has got to go out of the game. It's got to be black and white. Do you know what I mean? Why not just say as soon as the handball, blow the whistle? Do you know what I mean? Even if it's accidental, people will have a moan if it stops a brilliant goal a couple of times. Do you know what I mean? But if it touches your arm, wherever for whatever reason, just blow the whistle and that's it. You never used to be able to use your hand into football. Do you know what I mean? So just go back to the old. You'll get some shocking ones because it was a shocking one that my team was on the end of, which changed the law a couple of years ago. I don't know if you can remember when the ball was headed into the back of Eric Dyer's arm and he was facing the opposite way. They give a penalty for it, and everyone was in disbelief. But we need something a bit more concrete. Do you know what I mean? Maybe if players looking the other way, it's harsh to give a penalty. I get that. If they can't see the ball, then that's different again. Do you know what I mean? But if there's a handball in the build-up to a goal, I think that he needs to blow the whistle. Something like that. It's just all this perception's just getting annoying, to be honest.
And I think the issue that we've got with it now is that we've got matey boy, what's his name, Howard Webb, coming out now every week doing these shows about making sure there's clarity. He keeps saying this, we're going to make sure there's clarity of all these decisions. But he hasn't got a clue whether these referees are going to give it or not, because he ain't got a clue himself. Josh, have you got any idea of what the resolution is to this before we go?
No, that same with that Dermot Gallagher, who is on all the dodgy streams.
Ref
now.
watch Monday morning. He's got nothing else to do.
No, they just none of them have a clue. It's just the consistency. Like they just make rules as they go along. Sometimes, like they might give one handball like one day, but and an exact same incident next week they don't give it. It's just even if it's the wrong decision, I just wish they'd be a bit more consistent. They always come out with all these apologies and all this, but no one's bothered about an apology. They'd rather have just been the correct decision in the first place. But yeah, it's just the same debate, isn't it?
Am I right in saying you've got a ref in the middle, you've got two linesmen who you can consult, I'm assuming, on anything. Is it 3 or 4 in the VAR room they got in there?
There's 4 in there.
So we got 7 people.
A 4th official.
So we got 8 people.
Yeah.
And they still got to have an apology on some Monday mornings.
Yeah. It's not some Monday mornings, it's every Monday morning, it seems at the moment.
I like that ref watches Dermot Gallagher. It's a good idea, but one thing's a definite. Yeah. There'll be a decision tomorrow you'll disagree with, which you'll disagree with him on one tomorrow because he's too scared to throw his mates under the bus on every decision.
Yeah, and then so you've got him that won't throw his mates under the bus, and then you've got Karen, Sue Smith and matey boy Walnut, whatever his name is. They won't challenge him on it because they're worried they won't be here next week.
Yeah, and you got Howard Webb just enjoying the hospitality in the box at one game every single weekend. Yeah.
You got Mike Dean sat cozy in the Soccer Saturday studio. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, every year they tweak it, but another thing that makes it weirder as well, because United had that handball in Bayern Munich, didn't they, midweek?
It's different.
And it's different laws.
Yeah.
So a lot of people couldn't get their head around it. Like, that was a penalty. Following UEFA laws, it was a pen. And I'll be honest, those laws over there are probably a little bit more black and white.
Yeah.
And don't forget as well, they use the line system that they use in the World Cup for VAR.
Yeah.
Premier League turned
which we
it down.
refused. Yeah, we refused it.
We refused that. So it'd be interesting to watch a few more games in Europe this year. If it's better, and if the laws are a bit more black and white, because we certainly need a bit more black and white with the laws.
We do. We will leave it there. However, thank you very much indeed, everybody, for watching. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to West Ham Official if you haven't already. Sean and Josh, thank you very much indeed for joining us once again.
No worries.
No worries, lads.
We will speak to you next week, I'm sure. Who have we got now? Sheffield United next week. 1-0, a Gerdon goal, 93rd minute. I'll see you then. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.